I'm Clarence.
And I'm DJ Nuna.
And you're listening to Up in the Air,
a podcast exploring the creative, social, and political world around us.
Featuring conversations with our lovely friends and special guests each episode.
Stay up in the air and come float with us.
Yo, welcome back to another episode of Up in the Air. Today we are joined by a very illustrious guest and friend of the pod, Jordan Nicholson. He's a Seattle-based artist, photographer, and cosmic being who's been working with creatives all over the world, such as Jay Park, Pharrell Williams, and companies like Apple and JBL. All the while, Jordan is working on a million different projects. He's always been a huge part of the community, working with local businesses like Lil Woody's and Alive and Well. More recently, Jordan has launched a beautiful clothing brand with his friends in South Seattle called Paradice Avenue South, which we are very, very, very big fans of. But Jordan, welcome to the pod. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, how are you doing?
I'm good. Yeah. What do you call? Just hanging in there, just been doing random projects and gigs, and yeah, it's been a pretty cool start to the year. Kind of excited to see what's on the horizon, because already things are looking cool. I'm on the
That's
Up in the
good to
Air
hear.
podcast.
This is a little cosign, you know what I'm saying? No, I think it's funny because like I follow you on Twitter and like you're always tweeting these very like positive messages, and then I'm like, the sun's coming out, like everything is on the uprise, like like I feel really good. But can you talk a little bit about like what exciting things you've been doing and kind of like how does it feel going out to all these shoots nowadays and feeling like the world is somewhat coming back to a level of normalcy?
Yeah. Man, it's just exciting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, feeling cautiously like optimistic
Mm-hmm.
about
Mm-hmm.
everything, but yeah, I don't know. I think I'm someone who has just loved I love doing things and just being up. I don't know, just getting into whatever. And
Yeah.
I think last year when pandemic hit, it was like just quite a while, of just like me completely like holed up, just in my room. I don't know, playing Animal Crossing and watching and like hanging out at home, and it's just like cool. But after a while, it's like, okay, I'm ready to like go do stuff and
Right.
try to keep sort of this creative journey. I want to keep it moving and keep it going,
Mm-hmm.
and then yeah, I think towards the end of last year, things really started picking up. It was just like back to back to back things where it was like, okay, boom, you're gonna be doing some stuff with like the Seahawks, and then it's like, boom, you're gonna be shooting for Apple, and then boom, you call, oh, you're gonna shoot like Russell Wilson and Sierra, and then it was just like,
Yeah. I mean, it's like kind of bittersweet in a way, right? Like, simultaneously there's so much stuff going on in the world, but then like all these opportunities are coming up for you too. Like, that must have been kind of sort of weird in a way, but
yeah,
like also very rewarding.
definitely is you know, yeah, it. I think more than anything, it just made me feel, or all these like opportunities have made me feel.
Mm.
It's just like very thankful and grateful. I there is a part of you that's like, oh man, like I feel like I'm having all these amazing things happen to me when there is so much like suffering and just so much going on.
Right.
I feel like can't. I don't know the how do I say? No one benefits from me feeling bad about like the good
Mm.
things that are happening for me. So
That's true.
it's
Yeah.
just, yeah, I think for me it's just been like, you know what, I'm gonna just feel thankful and just try to do what I can to like bring a little bit of light into the world that's kind of struggling right now. Yeah, it's like I think just kind of since towards the end of last year, it's sort of just been like a steady flow of uh, things, and I don't know. I always have this like being an artist or creative is like I always have this fear that like, okay, this is gonna be like the last exciting, cool thing that I do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Mhm.
time and time again, I was like, oh wait, no, it's not over yet. Like there's something coming. And so yeah, kind of back to this idea that I talked about when I spoke for UW and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for doing that. That was really,
Yeah.
it was so awesome. I mean, I think we had a great turnout, and like I think people who came out to see it really got a lot out of it. But you're saying like kind of trusting the process,
Yeah,
right?
trust the process. Have faith in the universe. Like, yeah, I think uh, my I don't know confidence in the universe. It goes like I think like anyone's like
Yeah.
Yeah,
fluctuates,
yeah.
but I think it
Mhm.
it definitely has been getting back into
Mm,
a place of just like you know what, nah, it's things are gonna be okay. Like
right.
Mhm.
I'm on whatever path I'm on, and I'm just gonna trust it and keep going.
Mhm. Definitely. No, I always love hearing when artists share kind of their roots or when they started just like really investing in their passions. But I'm curious because we're always talking about trusting the process, but like what were you doing like 5 years ago? Like what type of person were you? Were you like still I don't know when you started your photography and all your other art, but I'm curious how things have shifted in just 5 years because I love hearing how different it is and how much people can grow in such a short time.
Let's see, 5 years ago.
Feels like a lifetime ago, huh?
Let's see. What I think kind of realizing that like my life has sort of been like some version of what it is right now for like
Mm,
um for a while, where it's just like kind of centered around creativity and art, and like
Hmm.
interesting things are happening, but it's just sort of like um, a process of those opportunities and things kind of getting like bigger and bigger. Now it's like what's going on,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think 5 years ago, 2016, I think that was maybe like a year after, or around the time that I'd actually left my last job that I had, which was working at Ebbets
mm,
Field Rentals.
mhm, mhm.
Mm.
I don't know, it's like local spot that makes like vintage jerseys, and I don't know, they work with like Supreme, and
Yeah, I think I have this hat is from them, but
they do
Ooh.
collaborations with everyone, and like that's kind of what brought me in, is just super interest in streetwear. But
mhm,
yeah, that's I had basically for years been working at Alive and Well, which is a skate shop, and then working at Ebbetsfield Flannels, and then uh, I stopped working at Alive and Well, and was just working at Ebbets, and then uh, all the while I was doing photos and shooting concerts and events and things, and then it was kind of just this like process of working the jobs and then doing photos, and then it's like, okay, now photos are becoming like a bigger and bigger part of my life. And so yeah, I think now it's been like 5 6 years that I've been like full-time just doing art. But yeah, I think 5 years ago it was like similar things, but just like I don't know, nothing as crazy as like doing shooting for Apple, or like,
yeah.
like Russell Wilson this year.
But was it when you left that job that was it kind of like a leap of faith that you were like, oh, I'm gonna really try to pursue being an artist full time, or is it kind of a natural thing that just happened?
That was it's actually kind of like a crazy story. Pretty much. So I was there, and I I was kind of having the feeling of like, like I think it might be time for me to just like go all in on art, and that's kind of just in my heart, like that's what I was feeling. And but it's is kind of difficult, I guess, to like, I don't know. I think I'm felt very like I loved all the people there and just felt very kind of like almost like loyal to it, where it felt, I don't know, it was just like it felt like a big step to be like, all right, I'm gonna like peace out, guys.
Mm-hmm.
And but yeah, deep down in my heart, I was like, I think I'm not supposed to be here right now. And I honestly, it didn't happen in the way that I was expecting, but like I kind of, I really feel like it was like the universe like busting me out of that situation, because pretty much it's pretty wild, but pretty much what happened is how do I guess I should I can give too many details, but I'll just say that like uh a worker who was there uh got let go, and pretty much that day that worker called in and said, "Hey, I'm going to get my guns and I want to shoot all of you."
Oh my God.
And
Oh.
then it was, yeah, it was a very crazy story, but
That
yeah.
is wild.
He
Oh,
called me.
I wasn't really expecting it to go in that
I-
direction.
I was like, I don't know how to talk about like leaving that because it's like kind of crazy, but he just was very angry,
Mhm.
and that guy has like a crazy kind of crazy backstory, and but yeah, and then he ended up like calling me that night, and we ended up like being on the phone for like 3 hours, and he was just like uh he was like, yeah, I got my guns, and I want to do this, and I'm like, you don't want to do that, man. And
Oh
we just like had
man.
this whole conversation, and um I think ultimately he was hurting, and I think just s- needed to feel supported. But yeah, I think after that, I was kind of like, sorry, but I can't come back into work.
Dude,
And
I think that's a good
Wow.
call.
yeah,
Damn.
so it was like, I mean, it's a while ago now, but yeah, still, I feel like I shouldn't say too much about it, but yeah,
Yeah.
Mhm.
it
But I
really
mean, it's like in the most like unexpected circumstances,
so
in so many
unexpected.
ways, you find, you make a choice and it's like, oh my gosh, that's crazy.
And then
Mhm.
what's I think really interesting to me is just that, like, I want to say like a month or two after that happened, I forget exactly what was happening, but I remember just like opportunities and gigs like started to come in like crazy, where it was like, dang, if I was still at that job, like I wouldn't have been able to do all those things. Like I
Mm, mm.
remember around that time, like right after, ended up going to Canada and was like shooting this like music festival for Live Nation, and I remember shooting Drake, which was like a dream, like because he was like performing at this Canadian music festival that was like in the woods, and there's like a whole crazy story with that where things just lined up, and it was like,
Yeah.
okay, you're shooting Drake, and but yeah, it was I don't know. I think it was a moment where I was just like, dang, I think that for anyone, it's like if you create that space in your life for things to happen, it's like that space is gonna be filled. The universe is gonna fill that space. So it's important to like, yeah, cut out that space in your life for other things that you want. Because yeah, I wouldn't have been able to do a lot of the things that I was doing if I had still been at Ebbets.
Hmm.
And yeah, it just like the universe got me out. It was like, you're not supposed to be here, dude. Like, get out. And so,
The universe really just dragged your ass out.
like, it was so in the most unexpected way.
Yeah, yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah,
I
it's
think it's so interesting too. Like we had an episode with Vivian recently, as you know, and we were talking a lot about how like sometimes the opportunities like it's literally one person away or like just around the corner, and
Mhm.
it could be any moment. Like, when you were in college and kind of, I guess, were you kind of starting that creative path already and thinking that it could be a possibility, or was it more just like get the degree and then sort of just figure it out as you go?
So pretty much like the plan, or I went to UW with the intention of becoming an art teacher. So majored in drawing and painting and minored in education. And so pretty much up until what like winter quarter of senior year, it was like that was the plan for my life. It was like, okay, just gonna go straight back to school, get my master's, and yeah, become a teacher. And I think kind of similar situation all the while. There's this feeling of like, I don't know, I think that there's something to what I've been doing because, I was even in college, it was like going to shows and shooting for local streetwear brands and, uh, shooting for like artists in the city. And I think I was doing like Macklemore stuff.
Hmm.
And so it was like, even then, there was like interesting things that were happening. So it was, it wasn't a completely like or unfounded idea that like, I don't know, maybe there's something to like doing this art stuff. But yeah, I think uh, I think my mom was like just making sure that I was like taking all the classes that I needed to take, and she was kind of coming down on me at one point, and I think it kind of came to a head where I was just like, I don't know that I want to go straight back to school and do all that. Like
Hmm.
I you know, and I think she was asking like, well, what, what do you want to do then? And uh, the conversation was just like, like, Mom, like, I don't know if you know this, but I'm very talented, and and I think that there's a possibility in me just like exploring photos and art, and because already I feel like I've had some. Oh, your camera turned off. Are you still there?
Clarence.
Are you good?
Yes, I'm good. I'm good.
uh,
Okay.
yeah, it's I think I was just telling her that like I've already had sort of things happening with this, but it's always been something where I was doing photos after I was done with my homework, or at least when I was,
Mm.
or when I should have been doing my homework. But and I think I just told her that like, yeah, the way I framed it is like, Mom, uh, you know, I think it's rare in life that someone or that people have something that they're like really into and they're really passionate about. And then
Mhm.
it's like even rarer that you kind of, have some skill or talent in that thing. And then it's like even rarer is like finding opportunity or a little bit of like success in that. Um, and it feels, I like to believe that like I have that going for me right now. And um,
Mhm.
and that even if it's like a 1% chance that I can like even pull this off, it's like, well, think how happy I'll be. Like, I think that's worth like taking a chance on, and uh, worth exploring at least, because yeah, there's something interesting or something cool that's like happening here, and I think it's worth going for. And so yeah, I think I love my family. They were super supportive and super understanding, and more than anything, they just wanted to see that I was like, okay, you can pursue what you want to pursue, but we want to see that you're working hard at it and really giving it your all. And yeah, so it's like I always look at life as like terms of like timelines and how they like offshoot from each other. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
well, that was like a moment in the timeline where it's like it could have gone this way, but it's like, now we're
Mm-hmm.
gonna go down the timeline where you
Right, right.
include art. And I just, I think about all the things that have happened since making that decision, and I'm like, dang, like I'm, I don't know, I'm very appreciative to younger me that uh, I took that leap of faith and acted on that because I'm like, dang, like it was totally worth it. And I think it encourages me in my life now to be like, you know what, don't be afraid. Like, always take the leap of faith. Like, you never know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just do it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, that's super inspiring to hear because I think, um, yeah, like anyone else can tell you like, oh, you're amazing, like you should try it or like you should go for it, but it really won't happen until like you yourself decide to like go for it and just take a leap of faith. And I was just reminded because Clarence and I are nearing the end of our college career, and I personally had a big shift because I was also wanting to be a teacher, whether that was like an English teacher or I considered art, but I applied to my pre-law major just thinking like, oh, this is it for me, there's like nothing else, if this isn't it then I don't know what I will do. I got rejected. And then that's what made me apply to the design programs. I really would never have applied to it if I didn't go through that rejection. So it is like just one closed door will lead you to another one. So I love thinking of life in that way. Like just a slight thing can change. You can just swerve the other way. Hmm.
Like the universe is always like nudging you along. So
Yeah.
like, okay, we're gonna go in this direction. Okay, cool. Like that was better.
Hmm. Do you often look for signs from the universe, or are there any like specific moments where you're like, well, okay, honestly, the whole coworker and that situation was a big sign from the
Are there smaller ones?
universe?
uh yeah, I think recall. I let's see. Honestly, I feel like I feel like I always am seeing signs. Like I'm really, really interested by coincidences. And all right, we're like we're
Let's
going.
get into
And we're going
it.
there. We're going there.
Um, I think actually around the time that like that year that uh, I had left Ebbets and just I think it was definitely like that, like 2015, 16 was like definitely a pivot, I think, in terms of just the trajectory of what I was up to. And I think things just sort of really ramped up. Like around that time, I think that was the first time I went on tour and was like shooting all these things. And then it was, 2016 that like the whole like Pharrell Adidas opportunity happened. That was like this like there was a whole like string of coincidences that like uh, led to this like really exciting opportunity. But um, I think just so many coincidences were happening that I couldn't not notice it, and I was like, "What's happening? Like this is weird." Like, and I don't know. I think I basically came across this term synchronicity, which is coined by like a psychologist named Carl Jung, and he was I think dude from like maybe 1800s, early 1900s, uh, but he basically was someone who was looking at coincidence from a very kind of like scientific, like academic like perspective, and he basically just said that like uh, coincidences are evidence of almost like a deeper order to the universe. And I think even Einstein is quoted as saying, like, coincidences are, what is it? coincidences are God staying anonymous or something like that. But yeah, I don't know. I think that in my like day-to-day life, even now, I just feel like I experience like a probably like eerie amount of coincidences. Like there's no reason that like that should happen, but it did. And then I think it's just a constant affirmation to me that like I don't know, I think it's very easy in life to feel that like this whole thing is just super random and meaningless and there's no order to anything. But then I feel like I have these little moments of like coincidence or just feels like things are aligning. And it's like a reminder that like, okay, like on some other plane of reality in another dimension, there's like um, some cosmic force that is kind of like orchestrating this whole thing. And I can't fully perceive it or understand it, but I feel like I see the evidence of it. And I feel like I'm always looking for evidence of that sort of deeper order to the universe.
Mhm.
It's like one time um, I was in I was in Tokyo with my friend, and I think we got some yakitori at a spot, and then we were like, it was late at night, and we're um, like, what do you want to do? It's like, I don't know, what do you want to do? And we're just like kind of bumming around trying to figure out what we're gonna do next. And we look over and we see like two really like steezy guys with like cameras. There's like a Japanese guy and a black guy, and we're like, man, I think they were like head to toe in like Bape, and we're just like, you know, so, and something in us was just like, should we like see what they're up to? And we're like, okay, yeah. And so pretty much end up saying what's up to them and asking what they're up to, and they're like, oh, we're gonna go take some photos on like a rooftop, and and I think we just ended up talking, and I was asking where he was from, and this photographer guy, he said he's from Toronto, and so I asked him if he knows a photographer, J Skill. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but um, it's a Toronto guy. And then he basically starts kind of like chuckling to himself, and I'm like, what? And he's like, and he basically says that like, it's like, you know, I I taught J Skill photography. And I was like, wait, what? Like, who are you? And then it turns out it's this guy, Ellie, Elie, or,
Wow.
and yeah, right? Like,
Yeah.
uh, I'm like, oh, dang, what? Like, that's crazy. And then I, I like, oh, let's follow each other. And so I like pull up his Instagram, and I'm like, oh, wait, I'm already following you. Like, what the heck?
Wait, that's so weird because I'm like I follow these people on Instagram, and then to think that you guys all know each other, I'm like, what?
Yeah, but it was just crazy. I guess like this guy Ellie was basically at the time Selena Gomez's tour photographer, and I think she had just had a show in like Australia, and she had like a break, so he like hopped over to Japan just to like kick it, and yeah, we ended up bumping into him in Tokyo at like I don't know 1 in the morning, and then we ended up going to this like super secret, probably off limits rooftop, and like hanging out up there. And it was, I don't know, you're just like, moments like that happen and you're like, okay, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I've yeah, it's just like, how does that happen? I'm on the other side of the world and bump into this photographer that like I follow, that I have like mutual connections with, and like uh I don't know. I do think about those times where it's like, man, if we had left that yakitori spot literally like 2 minutes later, or they had like made a phone call like 5 minutes earlier, it's like that moment would have never happened. And yet here we are in the timeline where those things perfectly like matched up. And now we're on a rooftop and hanging out and uh, having this like really memorable moment. It's yeah, I don't know. It's just for me, it's like affirmation that something's being orchestrated, and I just have to like trust that uh,
Mhm.
the right things are going to continue to be orchestrated for me.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Agree.
That's
That's amazing. I love those type of stories.
But
Yeah.
yeah, it's I don't know. I feel like I have plenty of experiences where it's like something similar. It's like what? Like okay, cool. Yeah, I guess we're connected now. Or I don't know.
yeah.
Mhm.
It's
No, I think about like we had you come on,
yeah. Even you. Wait, I was
like
remembering
for
like you're you went to the Kumon like
yeah,
my God.
yeah, yeah. I was a student. Come on.
Oh, yeah. I was a teacher for I guess the listeners. It was like I was a teacher uh, at Kumon or where I graded papers, and yeah,
Yeah.
you're a participant, and I graded your papers and drew.
Yeah, I mean, it was just like such a full circle moment. And then I think about like when we had you come to do a little virtual talk for UW, like in the span that we started having conversations about doing it, like I ran into you like so many times, and I'm like, I
Oh,
haven't seen you in so long, and like we're in a pandemic, and I
We're
see
in
you in all
quarantine.
these places. I'm like, this is so strange, but I'm like, I guess we're meant to make this event happen. We're meant to like have this full circle moment.
Mhm.
like in the 2 week span that we're talking a bunch and like planning this thing together, it's like yeah, I bumped into you on multiple occasions, like
Yeah.
I like went and
Like
ordered
you're just waiting for food in Chinatown. And I was like,
uh,
no way.
yeah, I went to home court and was ordered some salt and pepper tofu and was just
Oh
hanging out at
yeah.
the park and then yeah, you came up to me like Jordan. It was just like oh
I know, because I'm like, I don't want to just walk up to someone, like the mask is hard, but then it was like also like, a little bit dark, and I was like, well, I don't want to just walk up to this stranger or potentially stranger, and just be like, do I know you? But yeah, that was crazy.
and as I
Mhm.
don't know like uh I talk about like leaps of faith. For me, doing a talk for you guys is like kind of a leap of faith. Uh,
Mm,
I think that you know I don't necessarily like it's not necessarily my like natural inclination to be like okay I need to go give a talk and like give a lecture to people and they it's I think as much as like attention has started to I don't know be on me here and there, it's like it's not necessarily something that I like super seek out, like having all the eyes in the room like looking
mm,
at me. But there is a feeling of like no, okay, like this is I do think that that's some part of what my life's journey is supposed to be, is like for whatever reason, like sharing my perspective and whatnot. And so yeah, you have those moments where I'm like bumping into you randomly for this thing that like I'm kind of nervous about, and it's like, it's like okay, no, like Jordan, you're supposed to be doing that talk. Like, don't be afraid. It's part of the process.
right. And like I think in so many ways too, like your talk could have been that kind of moment for someone else too, like a creative who's like, you know what, I hear your story, like I should take that
Mhm.
leap of faith too. And it's so weird how that works, right? Like you could be the little trigger in like someone else's journey, which is so awesome.
Yeah, I think it has been definitely like a big idea just in my own life. I think I was born, like missing my arms, and from a very young age, it's like there's this uh, question of like why do things happen that maybe seem like unfavorable or whatever, and um, I think that from a pretty young age, one of the kind of conclusions that I came to is just that, like, okay, I need to conquer this. Uh, I would say I need to conquer like just being boldly myself and being boldly or just living boldly in like this unique path and completely owning it, um, so that hopefully other people around me can like see that and be like, oh, I want to own my own path too, and um, you know, just really, yeah, really just like live completely in my own unique, personal, like weird truth. And so yeah, I think that's why when those opportunities pop up, it's like, okay, like this is in line with the conclusion that you've made for what your life is supposed to look like. And so, yeah, I think, you know, I do hope that me trying to own my own path encourages other people to be like, you know what, like take that leap of faith, do the things that you feel called to do, because there's a reason that you feel called to do those things. You should act on it. You should follow it. Yeah, just fully engage with your own personal path, and I feel like the universe is going to reward you for that and be super supportive of that endeavor.
Right.
Yeah.
No, definitely. Because I've heard people um not discourage manifestation, but when they hear that I practice it, they're like, "Oh, well, how do you know that's not just a coincidence?" And I'm like, "Well, coincidences in themselves are really beautiful." And I think that's something. It's like you're meeting the universe halfway. Like in order for the universe to reward you, like you have to exert that good energy. You have to speak what you want. And yeah, I think coincidences are just like, yeah, meeting you in the middle. And yeah, I think even like when I was thinking about how Up in the Air started, like I was pretty bummed about when I got into the design major. I was like stressed because I was going to have to take a fifth year in school. But now that I think about it, if I hadn't taken a fifth year to do design, and if Clarence hadn't taken it because he's also a fifth year, like we would have never met, and this would have never started, and these conversations would never have happened. So it is really just one small shift that can lead to so many opportunities for sure.
And yeah, I
Hmm.
think that is something where like, yeah, I think that when you look back on your life, uh, you can kind of see the journey of like, okay, like I know why now I know why that happened, and oh, okay, this led to that. But um, I think so often, just like in the present moment, we we forget that, and we're just like, oh, I don't know why this is happening. Like this wasn't supposed to happen. But then time goes by and you're like, oh, okay, like I got it. And so I think it's like remembering that and then trying to sort of extend that understanding into the future where you're like, okay, I don't know why this is happening right now, but I have the faith. I trust that this is all part of the plan, part of the journey.
Yeah. You talked a little bit about earlier kind of like putting yourself into your work and kind of having it sort of manifest like what you're interested in, and also like just like in general, yeah, your interests. But I see that fashion is a huge influence, and also music. And can you talk a little bit about like you bouncing between those mediums? Because I know you DJ'd as with the name Bolo Young, which I think is probably the best name. I love that actor. But yeah, like what's that like for you? And I mean, even just so like why go into these different avenues?
I think you know, I mean, it's like I think of the what 2013 Kanye interview where he's just like, you only see me as a I'm gonna become a billionaire fashion, and like fashion dude, and at the time everyone's kind of rolling their eyes and
Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah, I think that for me, like I don't necessarily like identify all that much as like a photographer.
Mm,
I think that, you know, I understand that like to the world, I think that's kind of what I'm perceived as. But, you know, for me, to myself, like my own understanding of who I am in this world is just like a creative human. And so, um, you know, I think that for some people, they kind of view like photography as like one thing and then
mm,
drawing as another and
mhm,
you know DJing as another thing where for me it's like those all feel like different parts of like the same thing. uh,
yeah.
you know, I feel like with any form of creativity it's just like the process of becoming more intentional with how you're putting something together and you're just trying to listen or you're trying to pay attention a little bit deeper than what most people might pay attention to. You know, it's like people, yeah, people, everybody has a camera, but if you're a photographer, you're like, maybe you just spend a little bit more time paying attention to what light is doing and what the colors are doing. And
Mhm.
then, boom, you're a photographer. For me, it's like, you know, if I'm DJing, it's like, okay, I'm just gonna spend more time like paying attention to how fast the beat is going or how low the beat is going. And oh, there's a 4 bar intro on this song and there's like an 8 bar intro, and you're just like noticing things that most people maybe aren't noticing. And you know, I think that so much of my like creative journey has just been about trying to notice things that maybe most people aren't noticing. And um, so yeah, I feel like I just, and no matter what I'm doing, I'm just trying to like notice the details and then use sort of my creative mind to be like intentional about it. You know, like I bought this microphone for the interview, and it's because, you know, for me, I I noticed that like, oh, you know, like audio quality is important to how maybe a podcast is going or any audio uh, form of audio, just like you want it to be quality. And so me just being intentional with it, I'm gonna pick up a microphone and that's gonna be a better product. And so yeah, I think that's just like my core identity. Yeah, it's just being someone who's kind of makes makes note of the details and then tries to uh, move accordingly to that. So yeah, I don't know. It all feels like the same part of the same perspective.
Yeah. No, I mean that's super like validating too to hear because for Julie and I, we're interested in so many different things, and I think so often we're told to sort of like choose a lane or like you're a designer or you're not. You know, like you kind of gotta pick a path. And seeing you talk about the sort of intersections of all those things and like putting
Right?
yourself
A
within that.
bit of energy, like it can, like the definition of creativity is like being outside the box. You know, it's like there is no box. So uh,
That's
yeah.
facts. Say that. Yes. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
Mhm.
I don't know. Uh, I just think that your people are doing a disservice to themselves if they kind of make this like small box around them and it's just they're
Mm,
just like, yeah, this is where I start, this is where I end, like this is all that I am. Because you know, I really think that people are or have the potential to be there's infinite beings where
Right.
you can just be super exploratory and just try things. And
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
and maybe you end up not being like talented at whatever thing that you're pursuing, but for me, it's just like, hey, probably still be pretty fun. If you're interested in trying
Yeah.
things out, it's like just have fun with it and see where that
And
goes.
I
Right.
mean, you won't know until you try too. So
Yeah. And like the worst outcome is just that you're not good at it and that's it. Like no one will care and it was worth a shot. And I think that's what hobbies are for. Like hobbies, you don't have to be good at them, you know?
And that's like, I don't know. I think I think of like elementary school kids who in the beginning, everybody like loves to draw. Like we all love to do art. I think we're like people are inherently creative and like want to make stuff. But then at some point, it's like, oh well, Jordan's drawing of a horse maybe looks a little bit more like a horse than mine. Uh, I don't, I'm bad. I'm bad at drawing. So now I'm just gonna stop exploring this thing that like I actually enjoyed doing. And then it's just like, no, like who even says that a horse drawing looking like a horse is like the end all be all measure of like a
Mm-hmm.
good drawing. It's
Mhm.
Right.
like how much fun did you have doing it? Like that's the real measure.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
Yeah, definitely. I think that's the whole conversation about finding your inner child because you're free of judgment, you're free of just like thinking of the ways people perceive you. And I'm just thinking about how in elementary school like everyone played kickball, like even I played kickball and I'm not athletic at all. And then at a certain point I stopped because I was like, I'm not good enough to play with these kids. But really everyone should play kickball, everyone should draw if they have fun.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I think what do you call it? It's like what I kind of realized for myself is that uh, you talk about getting your inner child. It's like this isn't, or people say like, oh, I wish I was like uh, more creative or this or that, and then it's realizing that those qualities of like being open and creative and like a child, it's not something that it's not an add-on to yourself. It's like that's who you are at your core.
Mm-hmm.
And what you actually need to do instead of trying to like add those qualities to yourself is remove all these like filters and like layers that are on top of it, where it's like uh,
Mm-hmm.
removing the judgment and removing like whatever perceptions you have about like what a kickball person is supposed to look like.
No,
That
for real.
wasn't there in the beginning, but at some point, society, your family, the world, it was just like we're gonna put all
Mm-hmm.
of this on top of you, and then yeah, you kind of become disconnected with it. And so
Right.
Mhm.
yeah, I definitely encourage people to do the work and go inside themselves and see what are the perceptions and ideas that are like floating around in your head that you don't really need. Like you don't need the voice in your head that's saying, I'm not good at kickball, so I'm gonna give up. It's like,
Julie, chase your dreams. I
Seriously,
know you want to
I, I
play.
I gotta get back on the field. No, but for real, that's beautiful. Like it's already all within us. Like it's already
Mhm.
residing in our bodies and our past experiences. Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think of people the human spirit as just like you're born and it's literally like a blank canvas, and then it's like you have all this paint on it, but like or like over time you accumulate all this paint, but and you kind of get stuck in whatever that painting is. But I guess the beauty of a blank canvas is that it's like blank and you can build anything,
Mm-hmm.
you can paint literally anything with it. So I feel like at some point people feel that, okay, this is just the painting that I am. I'm stuck with this, but it's like, nah, you can just take the paint scraper and like scrape it all off, and then you're like, all right, let's paint a new painting. Let's try something new. Like, so yeah, that's you can constantly reinvent yourself whenever you want. I think
Mm-hmm.
you're under no obligation to be the person that you were yesterday. Like,
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
you think you have to, but nah, you can wake up tomorrow and say, I'm going to be a professional kickball player.
Yeah, I'm
You've
never letting that
inspired
go,
me.
Jubilee.
You've inspired
I was letting you
me.
guys, so I rolled with it.
No, I love that. But yeah, I think that's just such a good reminder, especially as COVID is slowly coming to an end and we're kind of creeping back to normalcy. But yeah, I think it's amazing that even, quarantine has been such a transformative year for so many, despite the unideal circumstances and all the suffering in the world. So it's just a good reminder that, change is always within your arm's reach. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Hmm.
think I do think that that's for a lot of people. That's like kind of what this year was about, was to like uh, do a little bit of reflecting and be like, man, like what what are the ideas that I want to live my life with, like in my head?
Hmm.
Oh, I think I want to move. I want to move a little bit differently now, and yeah, I think everybody kind of had a collective like just time of reflection, and hopefully, I hope that post pandemic we're in a place where it's just like everyone's, or maybe not everyone, but more people are kind of living in their truth because they've had that time to reflect on what their truth, their personal truth even is.
Hmm.
Hmm.
uh,
Yeah, can't wait to for everyone to be vaccinated and we can all play a big game of kickball together. And Cal Anderson. But yeah, we're about time now, and time just flew by in this conversation. But we always like to wrap up the pod with a song of the week because we know that music is a big part of our lives, and sometimes it can get really repetitive, like just when we're always inside. But I'm curious what you've been listening to this week, if there's been a song that's just been giving you energy. But yeah, have you thought of one?
yeah, I think let's see. I've been listening to Blue and Exile.
Mm.
Mm.
There's
Yes.
a song in Remembrance that I really like, and the song's
Hmm.
just about like, I don't know, reflecting on the journey, and just a very like nostalgic type of song. So yeah, I think I've been thinking about that or listening to it and kind of, yeah, reflecting on my own journey. And then How's It Going Down? DMX is like
Yeah. Yeah.
R.I.P. DMX.
Mhm.
I think, yeah, How's It Going Down? In Remembrance. A few songs that I've been listening to a bunch this week.
Fire. I
Love
love
it.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I definitely had a lot of DMX just playing throughout the house and like super loud. My parents were like, okay, calm down there. But um, yeah, those are beautiful songs. Something that I've been listening to a lot recently is this artist named Reggie, all lowercase, but he has a song called "Ain't Gonna Stop Me." And I think it's sort of like also in the same lane of me reflecting, like I'm gonna graduate, I'm gonna go out into the world, like nothing's gonna stop me. I'm gonna just do it for me. So yeah, just trying to keep that kind of theme song going and
I like
Jubilee.
Yes, okay, I'll wrap up for us. But my song of the week is called You and I by Jacob Ogawa. It's like a really groovy song. I think it's super fitting for all the sun we're getting, and it just makes me want to like white people dance to it. But arms out. But yeah, I think I've just been having a lot of joy from being outside this week.
Mhm.
So it fits the mood. But
Yeah.
yeah, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you, Jordan, for just sharing your words of wisdom and encouragement. I think Clarence and I are walking away feeling really inspired, and yeah, we love coincidences. We love synchronicities. Is that what it's called?
Synchronicity.
It's a
Synchronicities. Gotta
like
add that
SAT
to
word.
my.
Yeah, they're beautiful. They're awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah, but again, thank you so much, Jordan, and we will have all of his information below. Make sure to check out his work and everything. Thank you
Hey.
so much.